All right, let's look at today's conversation. It is our GBV focus that we're starting with, and we've been continuing with these conversations for a very long time. In fact, the SABC has dedicated a year. We don't even know how long this series is going to be, because as long as it's going to be an issue, the SABC, where we're broadcasting from, is saying, look, as much as this is going to be very much of a serious matter, as long as it's continuing, we're going to continue speaking about it. So today we're looking at it from an institutional perspective. South Africa's Soul City Institute for Social Justice has been very significant in addressing social issues for many years in our post-democratic dispensation. And recently it has announced a new 13-part drama series called Shayi'ndlela, Turn the Tide, that set to air next year in 2026. This marks the return of the legendary Soul City brand, which originally aired in the 1990s on the SABC and became one of the most important edutainment dramas in South Africa. Now, the organization says this is not just a TV show. It's framed as part of a broader conversation and a movement to shift the culture of violence in South Africa. Well, today we're going to be talking around this. We're joined by the Chief Executive Officer of the Soul City Institute for Social Justice. We're joined by Phinah Kodisang on the line. Thank you for joining us here to tell us a little bit about the return of Soul City.
Thank you, Benjamin, for having me, and we appreciate this platform. And we are excited to actually share this great news. I think for the past 5 years, as we look on social media, we've seen a lot of people saying, if Soul City was around, some of these issues would not be an issue. A lot of people really, acknowledging the role that Soul City played in educating people on social issues such as gender-based violence, HIV. And so the return for us is a big milestone, especially because on the 12th of October this year, the organization was turning 30. So you can imagine for us how big this is,
Let's talk a little bit about Soul City. What are you guys responsible for? Give us a bit of a context of the history for those on the continent who might not have understood it or know what Soul City is all about.
So, Soul City is a non-profit organization based in South Africa. At the dawn of democracy, this organization championed edutainment. In 1994 on SABC One, the first drama series aired, which was looking at, health, education around HIV and educating people. But it is not just a TV program. It is, a program.
Phinah, are you there? Okay, we've lost Phinah there. We'll see if we can get her back. But she's right. We, had a very worrying time in South Africa in the early 1990s, right, where the conversation of HIV/AIDS was very misplaced, and there was a lot of misinformation, what we thought about HIV/AIDS. In fact, there were a lot of myth makings around that, and Soul City was very crucial in changing that narrative. Phinah, welcome back on the show. Let's talk a little bit about that context of Soul City. I was just speaking about the narratives of HIV/AIDS in the early 90s, and Soul City was very critical in changing some of the myth-making narratives that were entrenched in our communities.
Very much so. And so as I was, sorry, apologies for that. So as I was, talking about the journey. So in 1995, we got incorporated as an organization, a non-profit organization, not just doing TV, but also doing community mobilization. So we were going into schools, into communities, continuing with the education and the mobilization for people to go to facilities, know their HIV status, but also for people to learn that, if someone in the family has HIV, it doesn't mean all of you are going to get it. There are ways that it can be prevented, but also those people who are infected need to be loved, need to be accepted. And so teaching around stigma prevention, but also looking at other, structural issues, and gender-based violence being one of the issues that has always been an issue or an issue that needed to be addressed. And so in series 4, we did the story where Patrick Shayi, the late Patrick Shayi, was portraying a perpetrator of violence, the Matlakala and Tabang story. And in there, we were actually saying to people, inaction also creates an enabling environment for gender-based violence. If you remember that storyline, the community would keep silent, would not do anything as they hear Matlakala screaming for help until they were challenged by Matlakala's father, who said, "My daughter is dying while you guys are here and doing nothing about it." And that from that meeting, the next time Tabang, who was portrayed by Patrick Shayi, was hitting his wife, the community came back reports. And that's how they were now creating awareness around everyone must take action. Everyone has a responsibility to prevent and to respond. It's not only for the police, and it's not a private matter. And that's the education that we have been carrying throughout while we continue working in schools through our different programs like the well-known Soul Body Slaps, which have also been on TV. So yeah, we are that organization.
It's fantastic work that you've done. I wonder if we can mobilize as well as we did when it comes to gender-based violence like we did with HIV/AIDS. As a country, I think we did turn the tide. The statistics were really against us in how many people were dying from HIV/AIDS and also how it was really misunderstood and the stigma that was there. I want us to deal with that kind of conversation. Can we do the same with gender-based violence? It seems like it's a battle that we are losing, Phinah, but we'll talk a little bit more about that after the break.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, 23rd of July for Hard Talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and the whole country affected by gender-based violence. For all your favorite SABC radio stations, call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Balisa and Benjamin, fuel your day with fresh African perspective on Channel Africa.
Hey, today we're taking a look at the conversation around gender-based violence from an edutainment perspective. A critical institution, South Africa's Soul City Institute for Social Justice, has been very meaningful. They had a successful run when it comes to issues around the stigmatization around HIV/AIDS, but also they touched on issues around gender-based violence in their early work in the 1990s, and it seems like they're making a return to unpack some of these critical social issues here in South Africa that seem entrenched and are negative to our livelihoods. We are speaking to our guest around a 13-part drama series called Shayi'ndlela, which is known as Turn the Tide is in English. Phinah Kodisang is a Chief Executive Officer of the Soul City Institute for Social Justice. Phinah, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because we were very unified when it comes to the issue around HIV/AIDS. I mean, I was a young boy back then. I mean, 1994, 1993, I was probably around 8 years, not even 10 years old yet. But, the conversations reached even us as young people. We were kind of scared of this whole thing. What is this HIV/AIDS the elders are talking about? But slowly, programs even reached young kids in schools. There were great campaigns that took place in television and also in different parts of society. I remember the red pin that we used to wear around our uniform as kids as well, because that was part of the conscientization. It seems like, we've fought that battle and we won it hard, but the GBV fight is much more serious, and not more serious than HIV/AIDS, but it's as serious as that particular issue. But it seems like the message is not getting through. What do you think we need to do more to actually find good ways to translate that message of this particular social ill?
So I think what worked with how we were addressing, you see, the issue with how we are addressing GBV, right, is that it's still seen as a private matter. It's an issue between two people, and society again has its own norms around how relationships are treated. Culture plays a role, religion plays a role. So to address the issue, you really need to go at the core of our belief systems, of our values, of our norms as a society, because you are challenging that very essence of how we exist culturally and even through our religious practices. And it can never be that it's an issue for two people. It's a societal issue, and that's what we are trying to shift in the program with the Turn the Tide Shayi'ndlela program. We are not only addressing IPV, which is intimate partner violence, and interestingly, we are looking at intimate partner violence amongst young people, because we don't know what is happening in that age group. A lot of our statistics are not giving us insights into what is happening with this age group. We just see numbers that we worry about when we hear stats saying a 10-year-old is pregnant or has given birth, a 15-year-old has given birth, but we never really look at what is happening with this age group in terms of who is having sex with them. Are they even, because once you are a 10-year-old, it can't even be consensual. It's a violation already by virtue of you being of an age that can consent to sex, right? So we are looking at those issues, but within the component of the program, we are looking at parenting as well. We are going to be running parenting workshops, because parents should be the first sphere of protection for their children. And many parents, through, again, religion, culture, believe that once a child is violated in that way, it doesn't have to be reported to the police. The family can sit around the table and damages, as we call it, must be paid, whether it's a cow, whether it's a goat, and it ends there, without realizing that, in fact, there's a perpetuation of this continued violence if we are not using the law to also cap the issue as it happens. Again, we are looking at young people, these girls who are 15, who are being groomed, by men with money, by older men. How are we addressing them as young people who have agency? So we run also Rise Young Women clubs in schools. So it's layered, not just as a TV program, but on the ground, we are doing community mobilization with girls, with men and boys, with parents, and with the broader community to shift these harmful gender norms.
Okay, tell us a little bit about these 13-part series, but I'm also told that other titles from Soul City Institute are going to also be part of a bouquet of education, such as the classic educational programs of Soul City and Soul Buddies.
Yeah, so Soul Buddies is one of our anchor programs. You were saying as a young boy, you got educated. So we believe that children can learn, and children can actually be activators in their communities. And we have seen that demonstrated in the 20 plus years of having Soul Buddies as a program in schools, right? So as young as 8, We bring young people into clubs where, we use age-appropriate education to teach them around different social ills, gender-based violence, gender-based HIV/AIDS, STIs, and many other issues that affects them. So we have really done well over the past 20 plus years with Soul Buddies. And so bringing it or continuing with it, because it's still running in schools, continuing with that age group to educate them so that when they are adults, they make informed decisions about their own lives, their own reproductive health, and also being just active participants in solving community issues. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect I've already alluded to is one of the programs we started in 2014, where we are looking at young women because they are targeted, they are targeted mainly by men, older men. They are in transactional relationships. There's social pressures that come through social media for a certain lifestyle that they aspire for or they aspire to. And we're trying to say, let's build your resilience, firstly, as a young woman. You don't really need to go into these harmful relationships because you're trying to live a certain lifestyle, so we equip them with skills, we give them soft and hard skills, and we're trying to really build their self-esteem so that they can actualize and know when they are in harmful relationships and still use their agency to choose to leave those kind of relationships and not allow themselves to be groomed, for marriage. And you'll see it portrayed also in the drama. So the drama is touching on all these different aspects. We have 4 main characters who are navigating life, as 14 to 17-year-olds in the time of social media, and how, the environment around them is either enabling a lifestyle of good choices or is a barrier. And so I don't want to give too much.
So we have to leave it there anyway, because we have run out of time. But just before we say goodbye, let us know where we can find more about the details of some of the work that the Soul City Institute for Social Justice does.
Go to our social media. You'll find us on X. We are also on Facebook. www.soulcity.org.za is our website. And on Facebook is Soul City Institute. So you'll find us there and join our platform and spread the good message.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Keep doing the great work, Phinah. You guys are a fantastic institution, and it's great that that institutional memory is still there in our country and you're still continuing with the programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's Phinah Kodisang, Chief Executive Officer of the Soul City Institute for Social Justice.